Good morning to all. I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you for today's enlightening webinar. I am Dr. Pradeep Golani, the co-convener of this event, and it fills me with immense pleasure to witness such a diverse and engaged audience gathered virtually. Your presence here not only adds to the vibrancy of our discussion, but also underscores our collective commitment to advancing knowledge in our field. I am genuinely anxious about the prospect of delving into the insightful and collaborative conversation as we embark on this intellectual journey together. By consistently providing captivating webinars, SPSR has established itself as a premier platform for knowledge exchange and professional development in the pharmaceutical sciences. I am confident that today's session will afford this reputation, with attendees benefiting greatly from the expertise shared by our esteemed speaker. Let us seize this opportunity to learn, engage, and contribute to the advancement of our field. Welcome once again, and I look forward to a rewarding webinar experience for all. Thank you for joining us today. Today is a significant milestone as we gather for the 43rd SPSR International Webinar on Global Compliance Conundrums, Tackling Barriers to Successful Medical Device Export. This event is a part of a distinguished series hosted by the Society of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research under the esteemed mentorship of Dr. Shashi Alok, National President of SPSR. Under his guidance, the SPSR continues to play a pivotal role in advancing knowledge and innovation in the field of pharmaceutical sciences. The SPSR is dedicated to advancing the pharmacy profession through a multifaceted approach. Our objectives encompass the organization of conferences to campaign the causes of pharmacy, contributing to programs and services, and address the health needs of India, and focus on disease prevention. Additionally, we actively recognize and honor distinguished pharmacists who contribute significantly to the encouragement of pharmacy profession. The core of our mission is the promotion and facilitation of the acquisition, dissemination, and exchange of pharmacy knowledge, ensuring a robust flow of information about the practice of pharmacy and pharmaceutical services. Through these objectives, we aim to elevate the standards and impact of the pharmacy profession, fostering a dynamic and collaborative environment. We are truly honored to welcome esteemed speaker Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal, regulatory lead at Volk Optical Incorporated, Ohio, USA. Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal brings invaluable expertise to our event, and we eagerly anticipate gaining insights from her wealth of knowledge in the field. Her presence enriches our discussions and adds significant value to our exploration of the latest advancements in pharmaceutical sciences, particularly in the context of regulatory affairs. We are grateful for our participation and look forward to a truly enlightening session. In our esteemed gathering, we are honored to have distinguished presence of Mrs. Monika Sabharwal, the co-convener of this webinar, National Secretary, Society of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research, and Managing Editor, IJPSR and IJP. Her multifaceted contributions and leadership in these capacities underscores her commitment to advancing the field of pharmaceutical sciences and research. We are privileged to have Mrs. Monika Sabharwal with us today, guiding our webinar with her expertise and dedication. Now let's begin with the brief introduction of Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal. Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal's tenure in the regulatory affairs domain spans over a decade, during which she has accumulated a wealth of experience and honed her leadership skills within the dynamic landscape of the medtech industry. With a robust educational foundation, including advanced studies in quality assurance and international regulatory affairs, coupled with a master's degree in pharmacy, Mrs. Apoorva possesses a comprehensive understanding of the intricate regulatory frameworks governing medical device worldwide. Her commitment to professional development is evident through her participation in specialized training programs such as the US Quality System Regulation from Advancing Safety in Health Technology. This dedication reflects her proactive approach to the staying ahead of evolving regulatory requirements and industry best practices, ensuring that she remains at the forefront of her field. Prior to joining Volk, Mrs. Apoorva held pivotal roles in both global conglomerates and mid-sized enterprises, where she demonstrated her versatility and adeptness in navigating the regulatory landscape for high-risk class medical devices. These experiences have equipped her with a deep understanding of the regulatory nuance across different markets, enabling her to effectively tailor strategies to meet diverse compliance challenges. In her current capacity at Volk, Mrs. Apoorva serves as a linchpin in the regulatory ecosystem, overseeing compliance efforts across more than 150 countries. Her role entails not only ensuring adherence to existing regulation, but also proactively anticipating and mitigating potential compliance risks, thereby safeguarding Volk's reputation and market position. As the regulatory lead, Mrs. Apoorva is entrusted with driving critical projects such as the implementation of European Union medical device regulation and UK conformity assessed transitions. Her strategic acumen and meticulous attention to detail are instrumental in orchestrating seamless transitions while minimizing disruption to operations and ensuring continued market access. It brings us immense joy and pride to share that we have garnered the participation of over 2,500 registered attendees from across the globe, representing a diverse array of countries. Among them, we have a significant presence from India, Algeria, Daman, Ethiopia, Ghana, Indonesia, Kenya, Malaysia, Nepal, Nigeria, North Macedonia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, UK, and USA. The overwhelming response from such a wide-reaching and varied audience is truly humbling. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every participant for choosing to be a part of this significant event. Thank you for joining us today. Let's make this webinar an insightful and enriching experience for everyone involved. We have our esteemed keynote speaker, Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal, with us. Welcome, madam. Kindly, I request you to share your PowerPoint presentation and talk.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Apoorva Agarwal. I'm presently working with Volk Optical Inc. As a regulatory lead. I'm honored and thank you for inviting me today to share my insights. Let me share my screen and start with the talk. So I'll be talking today about global compliance conundrums, tackling barriers to successful medical device export. This would be a quality and regulatory perspective. I'll quickly talk about my organization. Volk Optical Inc. is a pioneering company in the field of ophthalmic diagnosis. We specialize in designing and manufacturing lenses and equipment for diagnosing and treating eye diseases. The company was founded in 1974 by Dr. David Volk, and the company's mission was to eradicate preventable blindness through accessible eye imaging. Volk offers a wide variety of products. We have ophthalmic lenses for examination, surgical viewing systems, portable digital imaging devices, and lens kits. With a commitment to excellence and innovation, Volk has been recognized for its quality products and dedication to improving eye care globally. You'd be happy to know that we are celebrating 50 years of excellence and innovation this year. Oh, what happened to my presentation? I was supposed to talk about regulatory compliance. I think it is very difficult to read what is on the slide. So let me talk about what I want to show you by bringing this slide. For regulatory professionals, like me, the slide looks like this. But for people with no regulatory background, it is difficult to read what is on this slide. And the difference is just the font. So, what I want to explain from this particular slide is regulatory compliance is reading the laws, understanding how they impact your organization, how they impact your country, how you can build good quality products and get access in your domestic market as well as export market. So, for somebody who does not have a regulatory background, the slide might look like this. And for somebody who is able to read what it says, it looks like this. So, let me start my presentation by saying that today I'll be talking about industry experience, my industry experience. A little bit of disclaimer. This has in no form related to what Volk thinks about the industry experience. This is my personal opinion, and I hope that you support me today. So, what I'm talking about today is the industry experience. So, IND is the Indian Drugs and Cosmetics Act and the Indian Medical Device Rules 2017. I would be talking a lot about this. And then the US, this is the regulation in US FDA, 21st CFR Part 820. So I'll be talking about that. I'll talk about technology and regulatory environment. EXP is the expectation. E is the exposure. RI is the reporting and inspection. EN is the European nations. And CE is the conformity European. To get access in the European nations, we need to have a CE certificate, which is the conformity European. In essence, today I will be talking about medical device exports from India, focusing on European and US regulations. Also, these discussions, they are also for all the other global organizations. And you have to understand that the guidelines may be a little bit different for or different countries, but the essence of the discussion remains the same. With this, let me start with the first slide. What is a medical device? I have added this particular slide because I wanted to ensure that everybody present today understands what medical devices are. So, if I have to explain this in a very simple way, medical devices are any instrument, apparatus, which is intended by the manufacturer to do purposes like diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, prediction of what? Of some disease, some treatment, some prognosis, some injury, some disability. So essentially, we are looking at the diagnosis, prevention, monitoring of disease or a disability. But how are medical devices different from medicines? I can explain you with a single sentence that medical devices do not achieve their principal intended action by pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic means. So, if something achieves its principal intended action by either pharmacological means, or immunological means, or metabolic means, then that is not a medical device. That's a drug. There are many device drug combinations, but that discussion is for some other day. So, you have to understand that firstly, there are a lot of medical devices and they are varied in fields. So how do we know what medical devices are? How do we classify them? How do we uh, document? How do we work with them? So the first and foremost important thing to know about medical devices is that there is a classification which is there for every country. Like we have it for India, we have it for Europe, we have it for US, we have for other countries. I have taken a simple example. This is a European medical device classification. It's a four-step classification. That was the reason I took it here. It is easier to understand here. So you can see that you have four classes: class 1, class 2A, class 2B, and class 3. And you would see that the risk of the devices are increasing as we are going from class 1 to class 3. So the highest risk devices would be a class 3 device, and the lowest risk device would be a class 1 device. There is a very interesting concept in this classification, and I would like to share it with you. So, in a certain country, a certain device can be a class 1 device, and that same device can be class 2B or class 3 in another country. You'll be surprised. You'll say, how does the risk differ from one country to the other? Why would some particular device be a certain class in a certain country, and then it would be a certain class in another country? The crux of the matter is it depends on the experience of that country with that particular device. There can be a device which has been used in a particular country from last 40 years. A lot of standards have been developed. The manufacturers have a very vast experience. They have experience of adverse events or the in no adverse events maybe, and the regulatory bodies have seen a lot of submissions, safety submissions. So with the experience of that combined for 40 years, the regulatory authority in that country thought that let us downgrade the classification and make it a safe device. So comparatively, let us put it as a class 1 device. The same device in some other country has only been introduced from last 20 years. They do not have as much wealth of data, and then it can be the same device in some other country has just 5 years in it's there for just 5 years. So then the classification, as per the classification, the risk would be higher in the third country because they do not have that much experience and they would like to see the device more before downgrading the classification system. I'll quickly give you examples of these classes just to have an idea what medical devices I'm talking about. So class 1 could be crutches, spectacles. You can see in the image, wheelchairs, IV administration sets, adhesive bandages. Class 2A could be blood pressure cuff, syringes, hearing aids, ultrasound machines. Class 2B could be advanced glucometers, contact lenses, contact X-ray equipment. Now, class 3 could be pacemakers or advanced orthopedic implants like a hip or a knee prosthesis. Now, so with the background information of what medical devices are and how do we classify them, I would like to focus back on the presentation about the export. What are the conundrums or the challenges you face while you are planning to export your product, manufacture your product development, and all that. So there are three things to be kept in mind. One is what to do. Second is when to do. And third is how to do. There are a lot of aspects to each of these, and let me explain one by one. So, what to do? So, first and foremost, you should know which regions you are targeting. Now, the regions could be India, because you're manufacturing in India. So, first you will try to register and sell in the domestic market. Then the next region could be Europe. The next region could be US. And you have 150 countries. Volk is selling in 150 countries. So the list is endless. So first you have to know which region you are targeting. Then you have to look at the guidelines of that particular region. Usually you'll find it in their government website, the medical device, the competent authority website. Competent authorities are the government organizations which overall have a look how they regulate the medical devices, and then they ensure that all safe and effective devices are being manufactured or exported to their country. So you go to a government website and you get the guidelines from there. Now you have the guidelines. What do? Once you get the guidelines, first try to find out what is the classification of your device. Now, depending on their classification rules, and they must have a database where they would have listed similar devices. And based on your intended use of the device, you can find what classification your device falls in that particular country. Now you have found the classification. What do you do now? Once you have found the classification, you find the requirements which are mentioned in the guidelines for that particular device. Once you know the requirements, you have to find resources, and most importantly, you have to find a competent person to do this. Now, I know a lot of people who are listening to me today are students. So, this is the area I would like to focus for a second, that try to get into medical device field and make a career in this, because this is a upcoming field, and you have a lot of opportunities as a regulatory affairs personnel. I'll talk about a lot of other things during the entire presentation, which would help you understand what regulations are at present in India and how you can make yourself abreast with these regulations to become a competent person. So, I was talking about what to do. Now, coming to when to do. Now, there are many, many options, but then let us stick to some key ones. So, the first and foremost thing to know is stages in product development. So, when you want to, which product development stage you want to implement what. Now, this will also be driven by the risk analysis of that particular device. If I quickly explain you what a risk analysis is, this is a document. It's a living document. Living document means it keeps updating at every product development stage. So it has the hazards, the hazardous circumstances, and the harm. And it has probability and probability of occurrence and the severity of occurrence of something. And based on all these factors, there is a mathematical number which is calculated, and manufacturers try to decrease the risk of that particular hazardous situation or harm to ensure that they comply with regulatory requirements, guidelines, and such. So, this risk analysis document would dictate a lot of when to do's. Other when to do's are testings, stability studies, clinical evidence. Now, how to do? So, how to do would be understanding intended use and complexity of the device, deciding appropriate studies, what have to be done, and compiling documents, dossier. This was based on the requirements which you found and what to do. So, this was the case of Indian medical device a few years back. It was that indigenous medical devices resistant to accept and reluctant to promote. But I'm happy to say that this is not the case anymore. There have been startups, government investments, growing technical knowledge, and changing global medical device landscape, which has tried to change this a little bit, but we have a long way to go. So I'll talk about the recent updates. Now, there are some specific updates I want to talk about today. First is the National Medical Device Policy. This is a policy in 2023, April. So this medical device policy had a vision to streamline the regulation, and it would incentivize the domestic manufacturing and facilitate the R&D. The major takeaways would be like creating a single window clearance system for the medical device licensing, and expanding the role of Indian standards like BIS. And the policy also seeks to achieve global competitiveness by enhancing standardization, certification, and quality standards. This policy also aims to support the draft policy to catalyze research and development, innovation in the pharma medtech sector. So they are essentially helping the draft policy. Also, this particular policy is encouraging the private investments, venture capital funding, and public-private partnerships. The second update is the Export Promotion Council. This update was for September 2022. A focus on promoting the goods produced locally by providing the guidance to manufacturers, establishing market linkages, and enhancing the market knowledge. There were many initiatives like district as export hubs. This was as per the vision of that Atmanirbhar Bharat. Then there were the formation of state export promotion committees and district export promotion committees. They were promoting the exportable goods efficiency. The next update I would like to talk about is the August 2022 update, Promotion of Medical Device Parks program. This particular program is enhancing the infrastructure facilities. So they are trying to reduce the cost of production. And they are also providing financial assistance. And this is like 70% and 90% for northeastern and hilly states. The rest of the country gets 70%. And they have an outlay of about 400 crores. And this is from 2021 to 2025. So you can understand the policymakers' push towards promotion of medical device parks. The next update I would like to talk about is the National Medical Device Promotion Council. And this particular council essentially led to the formulation of the National Medical Devices Policy I just spoke about. This particular promotion council was made in August 2022. And another update is the Medical Device Park in Uttar Pradesh. This was in July 2021. And this is also aligning with the broader goal of the local manufacturing promotions and reducing the import dependence. Also, like an additional regulatory standpoint, I'll give you an update that the government has decided to increase the validity of the free sale certificates, and they would expire only alongside the manufacturing line. And this is a wonderful thing to have. Let me have an in-depth industry analysis. The Indian medical device sector is valued at US 11 billion USD, and it is the fourth largest market for medical devices in Asia. We are among the top 20 markets globally with a CAGR of 15% in the last 3 years. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we are expected to grow to USD $50 billion by 2030. So from both the regulatory and domestic innovation perspective, recent changes will cause a shift in industry structure, conduct, and performance. Essentially, these are reshaping the industry structure, and the growth is fueled by factors such as income levels, the private sector investments in healthcare, and the rising elderly population, the prevalence of chronic diseases, growing health awareness, government policies supporting the sector. And there has been some government initiatives like the production linked initiative, the PLI scheme, and the government has allowed 100% foreign direct investments. So they are essentially driving the indigenous manufacturing, and they're attracting international companies to invest in India's medical device market. So this is because of all the initiatives of government plus manufacturers who are working day in, day out, working hard, and R&D teams who are building sustainable new products. So all in all, the entire industry is working hard to get from USD 11 billion to a projected 50 billion by 2030. So looking at the India at a glance, I have taken data of 2022 and compared it against what is expected in 2030. You can see that the healthcare sector Indian market size was about $200 billion, which is expected to become $600 billion by 2030 with a expected CAGR of 14.7%. It's a huge, huge market. And out of this healthcare sector, the medical device sector accounts for about $12 billion in 2022, which is expected to be $50 billion by 2030 with an expected CAGR of 19.5%. So there's a huge expectation of growth in this particular market in the next 5 to 7 years. Now, if you look at this $12 billion market size and you look at the imports were about $7.6 billion and the export was about $3.4 billion. So you can see that there is a huge difference in imports versus exports. Out of this, about 87.4% of medical electronics, hospital equipment, surgical instruments, these constituted about 87%. And this is about 50% of the total sales. So you can see that we are still an import dependent country, but as you see that the import dependence is about 64%, but we plan to reduce this to 35% by 2030. In this, you can see that the domestic production capability is about 7.6 billion and the domestic supply is about 4.2 billion. So we would require medical devices. Also, we would produce more medical devices for export. So all in all, it's a very positive outlook for India for the year 2030. So where are our manufacturing hubs? Now you would be interested to know what states, sorry. So you would be interested to know what states, what specific regions are doing more medtech manufacture or medtech, which are the medtech hubs. So as you can see on the map, that the medical device clusters. So let us start with Gujarat. Now, what are the manufacturing hubs? First, we have to understand what are manufacturing hubs. So these are strategically located locations in various states, and these promote the growth and innovation in that sector. So starting with a notable hub, Gujarat. So Gujarat is set to host the India's first medical device manufacturing park, and the state's focus is on emphasizing on high-end devices and promoting self-sufficiency in medical device production. The park would feature a manufacturing facility center for small and medium enterprises, SMEs. And this particular ecosystem is aimed at import substitution and export opportunities. From the previous slide, we've understood that we have a huge opportunity for import substitution because we are still a heavily import dependent country. So medical device hubs like this in Gujarat is going to benefit the country and it will help in import substitution and more export opportunities. Now coming down to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. You can see that particular a huge belt and cluster. These all the states, they contribute significantly to the growth and development of the medtech industry. They are actively involved in setting up dedicated industrial parks to facilitate efficient domestic manufacturing. Now, what's the advantage of a domestic manufacturing? So, the first thing is lower cost. Compared to a first world country, if you are manufacturing the same medical device in India, you are doing it at the fraction of a cost. And not only the cost, these hubs are also providing standardized testing facilities, infrastructure facilities, all geared towards the medical device manufacturing. And these hubs, essentially, the concept behind having these hubs was that they would play a crucial role in driving innovation, enhancing the infrastructure, fostering domestic manufacturing. These would support the overall growth of medical device industry in a way. If there is one thing you take away from this slide, is that Gujarat is focusing on high-end devices manufacturing, which is a huge positive movement in this particular direction. And the South India is leading the entire India in innovation, is still leading the entire India in innovation. So these two statements are the takeaways from this particular slide. Like, where are our manufacturing hubs located and what is the future of these? Now, if we discuss about the keys towards export promotion, my entire talk centers around this one slide. And I'm saying this because I'm telling you all the updates. I'm telling you export hubs. I'm telling you how the medical device medtech industry is moving, how they are gaining momentum, how the Indian government is supporting in that momentum, how industry and academia, everybody is partnering, how everything is happening. But there are some keys we have to focus for the export promotion. So these are on this one. Let us start with global QMS. So QMS is quality management system. Now, a global QMS is to be followed by a manufacturing company if they want to gear towards export promotion. Now, what is a quality management system? A quality management system ensures that products meet quality standards, they comply with regulations, they adhere to customer requirements, and implementing a quality management system is essential for exporters to gain trust in the international markets because you are focusing on export promotions. You would gain trust in the international markets. You would improve the product quality. You'll enhance competitiveness. So, goodwill in the market would increase if you have a global quality management system. So, essentially, you are aligning the export promotion efforts with stringent quality management practices, and you are strengthening your position in the global market. You are driving growth, you are ensuring sustained success in international trade. I cannot focus more on having a global quality management system for export promotion. Now, moving towards the second aspect, follow MDR, ISO, IEC, AAMI, and similar standards and guidance. Now, I'll explain you one by one. The key towards export promotion is to adhere to international quality standards. And what are these? MDR is medical device regulations. ISO is International Organization for Standardization. IEC is International Electrotechnical Commission. And AAMI is Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation. So these are all very well recognized organizations which are having different standards, guidelines, which are internationally recognized. And if you follow the standards, the exporters can compliance with regulation, alignment with global best practices, and so they would be able to enhance the market access and competitiveness. Moving to the third point, performance testing. Now, performance testing is a critical aspect which is ensuring product quality and competitiveness in export promotion. It is involving the product's ability to perform its intended function. Now, under specific conditions, identifying bottlenecks, um, ensure product meets specified requirements. This performance testing encompasses various tests. There can be many examples to this, like usability testing, stress testing, durability testing, and simulating real world usage conditions to address a product's behavior and performance. So, performance testing for medical devices are pertinent towards export promotion from a particular organization. Now, coming to the next point, competent QA/RA team. I want all the students who are listening to me to please focus here. So, one of the major pillars towards export promotion is having a competent QA/RA team. So, what is QA/RA? QA/RA is quality assurance and regulatory affairs. And why it is crucial? So, if you have a proficient team, you would be meeting international quality standards. One, you would comply with regulations. You would adhere to the best practices. Essentially, you are enhancing the market access and competitiveness. So, having a competent team is the key here. This particular team would stay updated with the regulatory requirements. You can see I shared the updates with you in previous slide, and you can see that this particular landscape is evolving every single day. So you have to be updated with regulatory requirements, and this is for diverse regulations for different markets, different countries. These updates I shared with you were specific to Indian exports, Indian government. So just imagine you have similar updates all across the world. And if you are staying updated with these regulatory requirements and ensuring compliance within your organization, then your company would have a smooth market entry. You would reduce the risks associated with non compliance. Another aspect of a competent QARA team is to identify potential risks to product quality. So it's not only reactive, but it is a proactive approach. So you would identify risks related to product quality, to product safety, to regulatory compliance, and this would be early on in the product development process. And this would ensure that your company stays on top of their game. So a competent QARA team is one of the key aspects. If you are doing all these, you will minimize the risks associated with product recalls or non compliance issues. Like if you have a basic idea of a product recall, so I'll just give you an example. For every single country, you would have certain regulations around product recalls. Usually, this is classified as different class of product recalls, and based on how much risk to public health, this classification would be done. So there could be a class where you are essentially not meeting the requirements, but there is no risk to public health. One class could be there which states that there is an irreversible risk to public health. So you are essentially doing the recall. And one class could be there which is like an imminent danger to death is there for the public. So you are doing a recall. Now, if you are proactive, your team was competent, you foresaw all the risks, you would not end up in this situation. And let me tell you, a global product recall entails a lot of other aspects. So you would be essentially looking at all the markets you sold, all the regulations which apply to them, all the distributors who were in your distribution channel, all the organizations, hospitals, doctors where your products were sold. You will create a plan and see the effectiveness of how much product you could recall. So just imagine the scale of problems which could arise if you were not compliant in the first place. It is very exciting and amazing to know that you can have market access to 150 plus countries. But you have to understand that the challenges are there. I'm not saying that having a recall of some product renders your company in a bad light and you shut your business. No, it's not happen. But you stay in business, but the implications are too huge. You can see big companies, Philips, Johnson and Johnson, Volk, they are trying to have a competent team, trying to have the risk benefit analysis, have a diverse approach towards all the updated regulations. So, to ensure that you are compliant through and through. Me being heading this particular department, I'm always open to knowing what new regulations, what new changes are happening countrywide, location wise. So that I can prevent any such happenings for my organization. We have been in business for 50 years and thankfully we have never had a recall. That's a good thing to do. Okay. Now coming to the next point. Robust documentation. Documentation, you can understand that you could have proper export documentation management, like you can have the accurate, the compliance documentation. You have to be efficient in documenting, and you are ensuring that all the risks which are related to legal issues, shipment delay, financial losses, everything is documented properly. There's an advantage in this particular digitalization era. So you can have many solutions which streamline your export documentation process. And it's easy to maintain it that way than compared to transitioning from like a traditional paper-based system to a digital platform is a wonderful way of doing it. This would increase your accessibility and you would have real-time updates, and it's a win-win for both uh, the country, the organization as a whole. Plus, Investing in training and education for staff is very, very crucial. So you would be able to adopt the technology. The well-informed teams are better equipped to utilize these digital resources. Now, the last thing for key towards export promotion is the favorable export policy. I have shared a lot of updates with you before coming to this particular point. So you know that our medical device sector is presenting a significant opportunity for growth and export promotion. We have the Medical Device Policy 2023. There are many initiatives like the Production Linked Initiative Scheme, PLI scheme, and the Promotion of Medical Devices Parks scheme. So all these schemes are aiming to attract investments, promote local production of many medical devices. Essentially, India is overhauling its regulatory framework for medical devices. And we are trying to align with international norms by introducing risk based regulations. The regulatory license for import, manufacture, sale of medical devices are also made perpetual, I mentioned in a previous slide. So the paperwork is reduced and it is giving you better access to the foreign market. India's proactive policies in the medical device sector are aiming to boost domestic manufacturing capabilities. So this is what I wanted to say from this favorable export policy. Now, where do we need to push? So the first thing we need to push is taking advantage of the medical device sector growth back. You see that it is growing. You have to focus on new markets, innovation. You have to invest in R&D excellence and software innovations. You have to enhance operations and commit to ESG. ESG a huge impact. ESG is environmental, social, and governance considerations. So those are the paths to take at this point. We have to change our mindset from import and trade to manufacture in India. So to transform this focus from import and trade to manufacture, some things are essential, like policy priorities. Policy priorities like reduction of trade costs, liberalization of FDI, infrastructure development, skill development. There should be regulatory reforms like export specific regulatory developments, market access initiatives, free trade agreements, such. Also, there should be more export promotion activities like financial initiatives and institutional support. All these would help in changing the mindset from import and trade to manufacture in India. Now, the next thing where we need to push is driving the change from preference for imported devices. Now, how do we do that? There are two major transformations required. One is the industry transformation, and second is the digital transformation. So, what is industry transformation? Industry transformation would encompass medtech companies who are transitioning from individual product launch to evergreen platforms, where you are focusing on continuous innovation and product improvement throughout the life cycle. So it's not an individual launch, you are essentially continuously innovating through the entire life cycle of the product. This approach would help in monetization across the product's lifespan, and it will align with the successful strategies which you already see in technology. So that needs to be applied in healthcare, medtech industry as well. Now, the second thing which I was talking about is digital transformation. So we have to leverage these digital health platforms. We have to leverage the telemedicine services, the innovative solutions which are enhancing this sophisticated efficiency of medical devices. And we would have improved outcome for patients, providers, healthcare systems. So entire ecosystem is benefited from that. The next area where we need to push is inadequate testing and evaluation laboratories. So we have to align with government initiatives to set up more testing laboratories. Now, see, the advantages in this sector is you can be a manufacturer, you can be a testing laboratory. And students who are listening to me have to see these areas where there is huge potential. You can go into manufacturing industries, you can go into testing laboratories. So medtech sector is the area you should be looking at. After my talk today, go check out what medtech industry is, what medical devices is, what does it entail, what see, I have listeners from all over the world. Go check your country's guidelines, check your country's uh, mm, what your government is doing to promote medtech in your country. Medtech is an emerging field. So I am 100% sure that your government is also doing a lot of positive approaches towards this. Now, focusing on developing academic and industry linkages. Academic industry partnership. One of the major important areas which has a significant impact on the growth of this industry. This would be an alliance between the industry and the academic institution, and which would facilitate the identification and translation of technology into practical applications. This particular partnership is instrumental in bridging the gap between the research and commercialization. The research would be done by the academic institutions, and that can be supplemented, supported by the industry. So this would essentially drive innovation in the medtech, medical device sector. Now, let me explain the effective role of a regulatory affairs personnel. You've understood what medical devices are. You've understood that there are many policies taken by your government. There are new regulation guidelines. It's not only India. Europe is coming up with software as medical devices. US FDA is focusing on a lot of new sterilization techniques. I've seen that they are moving from ethylene oxide sterilization to a newer hydrogen based sterilization method. So all these medical device uh, medtech sector is seeing a unprecedented growth at this moment. Just go see your country's guidelines, see your country's government website, and see how you can contribute to that. There are many initiatives where manufacturing, innovative ideas, technology, those things are being promoted for your country. Now, let me quickly explain what is an effective role of a regulatory affairs, and what is quality assurance and quality control, and what is research and development. So, if you see, a concept study is by research development. They would design a product, but just see that the product design is for all three: regulatory affairs, quality assurance and quality control, and research and development. So, you would understand that, like, if there is a new product being developed in my organization, R&D, quality assurance, regulatory affairs, all three would sit at the same platform, discuss about product design. Research and development might be thinking about product and must be thinking about product design which is beneficial for the patient. Regulatory affairs would ensure that this particular product design is compliant with all the regulatory requirements. Quality assurance will ensure that each product which you are manufacturing has the similar product design. So there is no variance between the uh, product you are trying to manufacture. So have such SOPs, have such SOPs means standard operating procedures. So have such documentation which is streamlining across the concept, the product design across all three sectors. The research development would develop a prototype, but the online inspections, quality control documentation, batch manufacturing records documentation, the product registration documentation, those things would be taken care by either quality assurance or regulatory affairs. Research and development would be doing preclinical studies, But this particular information would be driving a lot of things for regulatory affairs and quality assurance. And once you do the technology transfer, then the ball is in quality assurance and regulatory affairs code. So you have to see what new standard requirements are, what kind of queries a regulator would be asking, how do you align to that, how do you address that. I guess you understand what regulatory affairs is, how it functions alongside quality assurance, research and development, and how important the role of a regulatory affairs personnel in medical device, pharmaceuticals, cosmetic products. That is a pretty common area. Like regulatory affairs would be doing medical devices, pharmaceuticals, cosmetic products, and cell-based therapies, and I can keep counting more. Now let us talk about some trends, and these are global trends, and I would discuss the important ones. Like the first is the artificial intelligence. That I think this particular area is seeing unprecedented uh, growth regards to technology, medtech industry, any other field. You have so new artificial intelligence platforms. You have seen ChatGPT. You have every other day you get a new platform. So you can say that the medical device industry is witnessing significant transformations. And these are driven by technological advancements and evolving healthcare needs. And the things which are revolutionizing this particular is artificial intelligence and machine learning. These are enhancing the diagnostics, treatment, predictive medicine. And these technologies are simplifying patient monitoring, which would enable personalized care, empower patients to take an active role in their health management. I am talking about the trends for now. There are not much regulatory guidelines at this moment. There are we are in a nascent stage. We are getting software as medical devices, and many such regulations are coming in countries like Europe, US. India is also focusing on that. But still a lot of work has to be done for artificial intelligence, and this is a trend which is going to drive med tech industry in the next coming 10 years. The second most important area which we are focusing is robotic surgery. And robotic surgery continues to be a prominent trend in the medical device industry. It offers enhanced precision, efficiency, and outcomes in surgical procedures. The global robot surgical markets are projected to reach 18.4 billion by 2027, which are growing at a compound annual rate of 16.6%. Yes. The adoption of this robotic surgery, they are enhancing the advantages such as accuracy, repeatability, and efficiency. So, robotic surgery is also one of the top major trends for 2024 and beyond. The next trend which we see regards to medical device trends is software as a medical device. Now, you have to understand what software as a medical device is. Software which is designed for medical purposes, that is evident, but which is operating independently. So, the important word is operating independently of a hardware device. So, this software is operating independently as a medical purpose and which is independent to the hardware it is being used with. Such software is called software as medical device. And this is regulated as a medical device by various regulatory bodies worldwide, like FDA in the US and by MDR regulations in the European Union. And I would like to focus that this is a big opportunity in India specifically, because we have an IT background as a core strength. And developing software in India, not only developing, then conducting a clinical validation is way cheaper than first world countries. So this is one area we can focus of software as medical device. And I would like to focus that developing software can be done by an individual, an organization, a research group. Once you have a software, then you can find other collaborating partners and then sell your software so that they are able to do the validation, and then this could be commercialized. So this is a very major opportunity which any small group has to develop a software which can be used as a medical device. The pertinent area would be to find where softwares are required, the problems which we have, and how can we solve it with the software, and then developing a software which can be used as a medical device. Do take the help from a regulatory personnel, like take advice and feedback, so that at least whatever software you are generating, it is somewhat compliant to regulatory norms, and it becomes easier for you to later sell it, or maybe make a have a collaboration with another organization and market it as a software as medical device. But this is one major area because we have the IT strength in India. The next trend would be augmented reality and virtual reality. Now, these are two main words. So, what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is something which is enhancing the user's real world environment by overlaying digital information. A very simple example would be children's toys, where you can see a lion in your room. You open your camera and you're just viewing your room through the camera, and through the augmented reality, you see a lion in the room. So it is essentially overlaying the digital information over your field. Then the virtual reality. What is a virtual reality? It is an immersive experience by completely replacing the user's vision with a computer generated environment. So both are completely different from each other. One is overlaying some digital information on your screen, the other is completely replacing the user's vision with a computer generated environment. But both the technologies are used hand in hand to offer unique opportunities for education, training, and other applications, like they can say in medical devices. The next top medical device trend is wearables and healthcare apps. These wearable technology combined with mobile health apps is reshaping the landscape of healthcare by offering continuous monitoring, personalized insights, remote patient care capabilities, and enhanced fitness tracking. As the technology is progressing further, these innovative devices are holding great potential to improve the global healthcare outcomes. We are still a little bit in nascent stage for developing the standards for wearables and healthcare apps, but government of India is focusing on softwares, and then these are the areas which other regulatory bodies are also focusing. The next trend is device design with AI, and incorporating AI into device design would require a holistic approach. So, what would be a holistic approach? You are prioritizing the user's context, you are simplifying the features, you are considering the entire user experience chain, you are adhering to safety regulations, and you are aligning with the quality management practices. All these things holistically would benefit your organizations. And if you are following these principles, you can create innovative, user friendly devices. that are leveraging this particular AI technology effectively. From the entire list on this page, the medical device trends, you can see that medical devices are essentially focusing on all the technology trends, and each and every point I have mentioned here is technology. And it's not only the medtech industry. You would see a lot of other industries, other industries which are heavily dependent on technology and which are growing because of technology at this point. So, this is my humble request to all the students from whichever country listening to me today. See how you can add value to this technology driven innovations in each industry you see at this point. So if you talk about medical device industry, see the technology, how it is growing and how it is taking you from one medical device to another medical device, which is a far better version of the previous one. So what should be our focus? And this is a very important image which was in a paper, Transforming Healthcare Through Artificial Intelligence Systems. And you'll be surprised that this was in 2016. So Frost and Savilian had uh, such uh, uh, industry understanding that they came up with this particular image in 2016. And this is what we are seeing at this moment in 2024. I brought this particular image to show what our last decade was focusing on, what the current decade is focusing on, and what would be the next decade focus on. If you see that for the last decade, the focus was on medical products. The current decade is talking about medical platforms. And the next decade is talking about medical solutions. Now, I told you that we have to move from single product launches to a place where we have innovations for the entire life cycle of that medical device. So, we are not talking about a medical product anymore. We are talking about medical products which would use medical platforms and which would deliver medical solutions. If you see, last decade was focused on equipments, hardware, consumables. And most of our manufacturing and export was focused on this. Now, what is happening? The current decade is focusing on medical platforms like wearables, big data, health analytics. And the next decade would be focusing on robotics, AI, augmented reality. We have robotics, we have AI, we have augmented reality at this point, but the regulations, the government is still formulating stringent regulations to regularize these particular areas. You see that in the last decade, the differentiation was solely through product innovation, which was focused on historic and evidence based care. Now, this differentiation is by providing services to key stakeholders. First, it was just you have a product, you launch it in the market, and that's it. Now, it is providing a service to key stakeholders, and which is essentially focused on real time outcome based care. The movement, the trend is towards differentiation via intelligent solutions for evidence or outcome based care. And one very neglected area, and that's a very sad reality, the neglected area was preventive care. So you used to visit a healthcare professional when you had an issue. Usually, you would not visit for preventive care, except for pediatrics. When a child is born, you would go to the doctor for some time, get all the vaccinations done. That was the major preventive healthcare which I have access to from last 10 years. So the preventive healthcare was lacking. And now, because of this focus on medical solution, the preventive healthcare is also back into focus. So essentially, you can see the differences between the last decade, the current decade, and the next decade. And equip yourself with how you can be part of this particular phenomena, addressing these aspects and essentially ensuring that you are part of this particular medtech industry innovation growth in coming 10 years. Thank you for your time today. And I would welcome any questions if you have.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for delivering such a marvelous session on global compliance conundrums, tackling barriers to successful medical device export. You started the session by educating us about the classification of medical devices, including Class 1, Class 2A, Class 2B, and Class 3, and regulatory requirements pertaining that. Very nicely, you also told us about what to do, when to do, and how to do regarding regulatory guidelines of medical devices. You also discussed about the recent updates in the field of medical devices. You briefed us about the import and export financials, estimates of medical devices. You also discussed about the manufacturing hubs for medical devices in India. You explained in detail about the key towards export promotion, including global QMS, follow MDR, ISO, performance testing, competent QARI team, robust documentation, and favorable export policies. You educated us about the effective role of regulatory affairs with QA, QC, and R&D, and how they should be aligned for successful regulatory guidelines. You also discussed on top medical device trends for 2024 and beyond. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we should take the questions from participants. There are some questions. One of them is, ma'am, how do regulatory changes such as the European and UK transitions affect medical device exporters, and how can they prepare for these transitions?
Thank you for this question. This is a wonderful question and need of the hour to know how to transition from the EU MDR. Earlier, it was EU MDD, Medical Device Directive, and we are moving towards EU MDR regulations and the UKCA transitions. First of all, you should know the timelines. So, this is expected by 2028 and 2030, depending on the class of device. So, you have some time now. Right now, we are going into transition. Transition means you would have some CE certificates for your devices already. And then at this present moment, we are discussing with the notified bodies. So let me quickly explain what a notified body is. So what happens is you are a manufacturer and there is a competent authority, the regulatory body, and there is a middle organization which is called a notified body that would audit you and ensure that you are complying to the regulations which the competent authority was requiring. So at this point, all the manufacturers are discussing with notified body how we can enhance and how we can keep the CE certificate uh, active till the time the MDR reports are no, the MDR audits are not conducted. So we are essentially looking at extension of these CE certificates we already have.
Thank
Apart
you so
from
much,
the
ma'am.
extension, I'll just add one more thing.
Right,
Apart
ma'am.
from the extension of the CE certificates, we are also looking at two very important things. One is clinical evaluation, and second is safety updates. So clinical evaluation have to be focused. A lot of medical devices did not have any clinical evaluation before. So those are in focus at the moment. And the post-market surveillance updates, PSUR ones for class 2A and above devices. If you ensure that you have an extension certificate, clinical evaluation, post-market PSUR documentation, you are set for this transition either for MDR or UKCR.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for wonderfully answering the question. The next one is what are the potential consequences of non-compliances with global regulatory standards for medical device exporters?
So, one of the major potential problems, which I already discussed, was a recall. That was the worst case scenario, that there is some regulation you're not meeting and then you have to recall your product. One is this. Second, not complying to regulations would increase your access time to a certain country. Say, for example, I'm manufacturing in India. I want to export it to US. So I have to follow some documentation practice. I submit the documentation with US FDA, and then I determine that there are a lot of queries to my submitted document. So if I am not complying to my regulations, the time to market would increase. This is one of the major aspects in having a competent QARA team, so that you can have a perfect submission which you do not receive too many queries to increase your time to market. So I think these are two major risks to non-compliance. There are others, but these would affect a manufacturer way more than anything else.
Right, ma'am. The third question one of the participant wants to ask is, are there specific resources or tools available to assist medical device exporters in understanding and complying with global regulations?
Definitely. All these tools would depend upon the country of manufacture. So let me just for a moment imagine that I am from India, manufacturing in India. So my resources would be located in CDSCO portal, Sugam portal, medical device website. The key is to find the medical device regulator, find their government website, go into the website and see what resources are available to you. Other than this, not only CDSCO, you would have US FDA website. You can go there, go in the CDRH website, Center for Devices and Radiological Health. You go there, you find resources there. That is also one very wonderful way of finding information. And try to see different um, what do you call them, databases, like the ones where somebody has recalled their product, somewhere where they have malfunction, injury. So mod database is one of those database, MAUDE. So mod database, US FDA database is again one of the databases where manufacturers have a feedbacks, and you can find all the adverse events, malfunctions, injuries related to any medical device organization or a product there. So those are also resources. You can find industry bodies, you can subscribe to websites, but however, I would take caution before subscribing to any website. Rather, I would go to a government body or a government website to get my information. Also, you can reach out to the government authorities via industry partnerships. Those are more geared towards the regulatory professionals, not students. But still, you have one agency of physically reaching out to the regulators and asking your queries if that is the case.
Right, ma'am. Thank you. The next question is, ma'am, what are the key considerations for medical device exporters when entering new markets or expanding their global footprint?
The key consideration would be what regulation that particular country is following. That is very important. Knowing what is the classification of your product, knowing what requirements the particular country needs for a dossier to be submitted, and seeing to it how you can fulfill the gaps. So these are the essential steps by which you would be able to access a new market. One important thing, however, I would like to mention is a lot of countries, you need an authorized representative who would be representing you in that particular country. So, if you do not have any footprint in a said country, you might have to look for an authorized representative. This is true for at least 80% of the countries. So, first, see whether you would need an authorized representative, that they would be the ones representing you in that country. And then look at the guidelines, classifications, requirements, documentation preparations, what testing is required, uh, how much, like, again, the stringency will depend upon how is your device classified in that market. Do not assume that if something is classified in a higher class in your country, it would be a higher class in that country as well. Do your research, find out if the classification level is lower, take the advantage. A lot of devices which might be class 2 in US FDA might have a 510K exemption. You do not need any documentation, 510K documentation for marketing that particular device. You can take simply list the product in the US FDA database. So it
Right,
is
ma'am.
very pertinent to know the classification.
Thank you so much, ma'am. One last question, ma'am. What are the collaborative efforts or partnership can medical device exporters engage into enhance regulatory compliance and market access on the global scale?
For collaborations, I feel first and foremost is with academia, which is very, very important, because you would have a lot of new brains, and these are fresh minds who would like to go into the website, read the standard. I uh, have had teams with 18 people, and I'll be very honest, I always had the youngest member reading the standard. I always focused on read the standard, and only the youngest member reads the standard. So partnering with an academic institution would benefit you in that way. The academic institution can provide you the brain, you can review the standard. Essentially, if you are unable to do, you could have partnership with industry organizations, like there are consultants available, but essentially see to it that you have read the standard. Most of the times your question is there in the standard, just read it. I know that these standards are 30 pages, 40 pages, 50 pages long, but that is what I do. That's the first and foremost thing I said. I see a 50-page standard. I just know how to look at the standard, how to read it, see the scope,
Right.
see what applies, what is to be done, and see is there any requirements documentation wise because of the standard. First, see these three things, then read the standard properly. So, just reading the standard, getting access to new information, keeping abreast with the country's development, how the medical device or medtech industry is moving, these would help you in access to any region.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering answering nicely. I think all the participants might be satisfied with your answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And here we come to the conclusion of the session. So, in conclusion, our webinar on global compliance conundrums, tackling barriers to successful medical device export, has provided invaluable insights into the complexities and challenges facing the medical device industry in terms of global compliance. Through the expertise shared by our esteemed speaker and the engaging discussions among participants, we have deepened our understanding of the critical issues at hand and explored potential solutions. As we navigate the ever evolving regulatory landscape, it is evident that collaboration, innovation, and a proactive approach are key to overcoming barriers and ensuring successful medical device exports. By leveraging collective knowledge and staying abreast of regulatory we extend our sincere gratitude to Dr. Shashi Alok, the National President of SPSR, for gracing us with his esteemed presence today. In acknowledging your dedication and leadership, we express our heartfelt thanks for your invaluable contributions. In extending our deepest gratitude, we express our sincere appreciation to the esteemed speaker, Mrs. Apoorva Agarwal, whose generosity in sharing her profound expertise and invaluable perspectives has enriched our understanding of global compliance conundrums. tackling barriers to successful medical device export. A special acknowledgement is extended to our convener, Mrs. Monika Sabharwal, whose pivotal role in orchestrating this insightful event has been instrumental. We extend heartfelt thanks to all the participants, recognizing the collective effort that has effectively pushed the boundaries of knowledge and fostered a spirit of collaborative learning. Together, your contributions have made this webinar a resounding success, and we look forward to continued collaboration in advancing pharmaceutical sciences and research. Thank you for being an integral part of the 43rd SPSR International Webinar. Your active participation and contributions have been invaluable, and we look forward to future endeavors that contribute to the continuous betterment of healthcare and well-being for all. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Have a good day, ma'am.